We are good. So, hello again. Thank you. Thank you for coming on, Irene.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. For those of you that don't really know you, how did we meet each other? What do you do right now?
So, right now, I'm a full time investor focusing on buying businesses and real estate creatively. Jada and I met at the Golden Ticket event last week in Phoenix.
That's awesome. Cool. And how did you find Sub 2 or you're in Sub 2, right? To go to the Golden
Yes.
Ticket.
hmm So, how I found Sub2 is interesting. So, I started real estate investing about a year ago. And back then, I signed up for Bigger Pocket Rookie Bootcamp. It was a virtual bootcamp for a couple of weeks. And then we have accountability partners to meet every Saturday. And then we've been meeting for a couple months. And then one day, one of the person in a group, his name is Darren E. And then he's been raving about how great Subto is since he joined. And I was a little skeptical about, oh, is it really worth the price?
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, he said, Irene, there's a meetup in San Francisco. So I live in the Bay Area, and
Okay.
he and most people live in the SoCal. So we actually never met in person. But he said, there's a meetup in San Francisco. It's free. Just go check it out. And I was like, okay. So I went, and surprisingly, there are so many amazing people that are so generous and kind that people will not judge you based on how many deals have you done,
Mm-hmm.
or how many years of experience that you have. And because at the time I really was just starting out, and when I mentioned, oh, I was looking into midterm rental, people were just really generous. Like, oh, you should talk to this person, that person, that they can help you out. So after that event, I got a really good impression of this community, and that's why I decided to join the community.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. What I really like that you brought up is how you brought up the community and how kind they were and how welcoming. That is something that super surprised me as well when I first joined. And I joined back in like 2021. So I was 21 at the time. I didn't know anything, and it was nice because everybody was pretty nice, and they were saying like, "Oh, it doesn't matter your age, like just learn what you need to learn, and then like take action and such." But what was really amazing was how generous I saw everyone being. And it wasn't just like generosity when it came to like, oh, helping people that are new or, hosting Zooms and whatnot. But the amount of people that I saw that would advertise, or maybe not advertise, but promote the charities that they work with and promote, they never said how much they give these charities. They would just say, hey, this is what the project that I'm working on, or these are like the programs that I have a lot of faith in, and I think it would be good to just share with you guys. And that was amazing. I had never known so many people to be so charitable. And that was something that just blew me away. I was not expecting that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I love that about the whole go giver community.
I love some too. But rewinding or like going back, so who is Irene? I know you we
Mhm.
were chatting the other day and you were telling me about your whole story, which is
Mhm.
insane. And I don't think we really like finished it, but
Mhm.
I feel like so this podcast and why it's called Driven by Youth and anything is because I feel like I'm still in the youth category in my early 20s. And a lot of what I've done or growing up, I've been around a lot of like youth focused things. My mom has a nonprofit, and that's um, what we do. We focus on employing the youth and trying to help them understand what they would want to do in life. And not just like what to do in life or like what career to go into, but like, something that's more individualized and more onto that. Um, but I feel like from what you were telling me, your journey is just incredible, and your drive to keep going at every turn was just amazing. And I would love if you would be able to retell just your experiences again so that we can give whoever's watching this, whether you're a teen or youth or not, I think some really needed motivation.
That would be a quite a long story, right? So I would first introduce. So I love supporting youth. I still consider myself relatively young. I'm in my
Yeah.
early mid 30s.
Yeah.
But I consider myself my journey also start related to youth and youth leadership. So I was born and raised in China.
Mhm.
I my hometown is in Guangzhou. I speak both Cantonese and Mandarin,
Oh.
and I did my undergrad in Beijing. And my major back then was management science in business school.
Mhm.
Now, the biggest thing that influenced me at the time when I was in my 20s was when I joined a global NGO called ISEC. Is a global NGO that has been started since World War II and has been around for over, God, like more than 65 years by
Wow.
now. And it really focused on empowering young people and developing their leadership. And so I've served the organization in China. So they have chapters all across the world, like over 106 countries.
Mhm.
And obviously, I was in China, so I served in the organization in China. And in fact, that was my first full-time job that my senior year, after I already finished all the coursework and credits,
Mhm.
that I actually dedicate myself to serve as a one-year tenure as the director of information management for the organization. And it was throughout that experience that really developed me that I see myself as a leader that can make a difference. That is not about title, it's about what kind of difference that you want to make. And it doesn't matter how old you are. In fact, the world, if we really look at the history, there are so many things are actually driven by young people.
Mhm.
And then after that, I decided to come to the US to pursue graduate school. And I chose to study Master of Engineering Management. So I came to the States and went to Dartmouth College, spent a year and a half there. And then after that, came to Silicon Valley, where I used to dream about coming to Silicon Valley when I was in high school. I was never a technologist, but I always, when reading stories from books about the stories about Silicon Valley, as a young girl that have that fantasy. And so I started working in the Silicon Valley as an analyst and grow my career to director of product marketing.
Wow.
And yeah, and so it was quite a journey in itself for the corporate, which we can talk about in later if anyone interested. But there's a lot of things that change over the last couple of years. Before I turned age 30,
Mhm.
I thought my path. So at work, I work hard and I consider myself very competitive and competent. So
Wow.
I always shoot for promotion. And I do break a record that I got 5 promotions in 6 years. And so I was the youngest director in our company at the time that pretty much straight from new college grad to a director level. And the
Mhm.
company is not small. It's a company more than 9,000 employees. It's a global public company. And so by age 30, I was thinking my path will be continue getting promotions and rise up to executive level, becoming a VP, SVP in a well-respected tech company. That will be my path. That at least that's what I thought will be my path. And then everything changed. Everything changed. So one day in 2019, so I was about to turn age 30. I got a call from my mom. My entire family live in China. And out of nowhere, I got a call from her in the morning and she was crying. And she said, "Come back right now." And I was like, "What just happened?" And she told me my dad just passed away. I had no idea at the time that my dad had been dealing with lung cancer for 2 years. And even more shocking that the entire family knew except me.
Wow.
And that was out of love and protection, right? That my dad didn't want me to worry about him. And after spending 15, 16 hours on the road and finally got back to China,
Mhm.
on my way home, my family also told me another shocking fact. that raised myself. I also, in addition to my dad passing away, I also have a 5-year-old half brother that I never knew existed.
Oh my gosh. What?
And and imagine if you were me, processing those shocking facts. And when you arrive home, I saw my mother, I saw the photo of my dad, I saw family members, and then I saw the kid, and I saw the kid's mom. It was I never thought I never thought that my life actually is this kind of drama. Uh,
Yeah.
I w- I was an only child, as I thought, and I thought I would just grow in a very normal family. So it's in itself quite a drama. And the impact is that I wasn't someone who really good at navigating my emotions.
Mhm.
So I was processing grieving, I was processing sadness, but at the same time, I was also processing anger and resentment.
Mm.
And it was so strange when at the funeral, my mom and family cried so hard, and then my mom looked at me and said, "Why aren't you crying?"
Mm.
I didn't even know what to say other than sometimes the tears come out, sometimes it doesn't. To be honest, I actually really, really love my dad, but I guess at the time it's just so much happened
That's a lot.
that
Yeah. Me too.
it and then that's so there are 2 strikes, right? And then in the same month, my boyfriend at the time, he was brutally honest. We've been together for about 2 years by then, and he told me that he cared about me. He loved me as a friend and family, but he was never in love with me. At the
Wow.
time, I have no idea what's the difference.
Wow.
Um, but it was definitely a big shock, and so 3 strikes in a row, I got into severe depression. It's
Mm.
as if I can totally feel the little girl in me that just could not take it. I always consider myself very strong,
Mhm.
and I usually don't avoid problems, but at the time, I guess it was just too much that the little girl have to shut down. And the more scary thing is when it, shut down, my brain also got shut down.
Oh
So
no.
the so for people, not like every person is different. Every person's experience when it comes to depression probably is different too. But for me, the most scary thing is I felt my cognitive brain, my prefrontal cortex, was not functioning well. There's no way at the time that you and I can speak like this. Because think about it, conversation actually take your brain really fast processing
Yeah.
to do that, right? And so when I was at the time I just avoiding people. I don't even know what to say. So when I had appointment with therapists, also nothing helped
Wow.
because I can't really talk, right? And eventually, I did a lot of deep work. I reviewed the landmark forum and write letter to my dad, and also making phone calls. It was really hard, by the way. Because of the pressure of being in the classroom, that I felt the pressure to have to make the calls. But it was also out of my own will to call my mom and call my half brother and half brother's mom to just say that I choose to forgive. And I mean it, right? To letting go of that resentment and regret
Mhm.
and move on. So that lift the weight. I didn't completely got out of depression right away.
Mhm.
So I did reach out to psychiatrist and got medication, but I think it was because I already did the work. So within 2 months, I was able to got off medication. And I think one other factor was I was practicing intermittent fasting for the first time,
Okay.
and that really helped heal my gut, and I feel so much energy. And I think that was also why that I was able to heal from depression relatively quick.
Wow.
And then I'm glad I got out of depression right before COVID outbreak.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Imagine if I have, depression while I was dealing with COVID that 2020 year,
Being
it would
alone.
be hard. And so that's why like depression, mental health has been near and dear to my heart that I want to advocate for. And that taught me lessons about compassion and empathy. And then in that year, as I thought it's fine, I'm an introvert, stay at home is fine, I'm not stressed, I'm not stressed. But then for whatever reason, my weight just keep going up. I gained over 33 pounds in that year. My clothes couldn't fit. I suddenly felt so much low self-worth. I even in a denial when I stepped on a scale, I thought something wrong with the scale. There's no way. And then we happen to have two scale in apartment and realize, okay, now I need to face the reality.
Hmm.
And then also I start losing hair, and that freaked me out. And you
Yeah.
know that when you in the morning when you just like
Hmm.
combing your hair with your fingers, and then there's always left hair in your fingers,
Yes.
that's a huge bad sign. So, but that was not helpful because I was even more stressed out,
Yeah.
right?
Even more would come out.
I tried so many hair theorem and other things, and it was a terrible year. And after that, I thought, you know what? Um, and then I finally broke up with my boyfriend. And then I thought, okay, I'm 32. Maybe I should do, everything to preserve my fertility because who know when I'm going to meet the right person.
Yeah.
And as I was going to a clinic for a consultation, doing some blood work and ultrasound, and I was told that I don't have many eggs left. My hormone level was extremely low compared to women at my age.
Hmm.
In retrospect, for one hormone level is called AMH. And by the way, for all the girls and young women out there listening, do yourself a favor. If you're at your late 20s, just go to a clinic, spend about $100, do yourself a service to check that before, in case anything abnormal, right? So that you know that you have a little bit more time.
Hmm.
Um, so the AMH level normal should be 2 or above 2. My diagnosed result was 0.16.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
And I have no idea why, and the doctor only told me it was irreversible, right? So it will only keep lower and lower. There's no way around it. At least that was what I was told by the
Hmm.
doctor, right? Later, I did discover in other school of thought that it's not all loss of hope.
Yeah.
Um, and so what can I do? So I start everything as soon as possible. The
Hmm.
first round, I spent 15,000. I got 3 eggs. Now, for everything, usually insurance doesn't cover that,
Hmm.
okay? And then, for a healthy woman, usually you should be able to get about 10 to 15 eggs.
Hmm.
And I got 3, okay? And not to mention the whole process that you inject, you poke yourself with the needles and everything. It was hard. And then I didn't give up. And then the second round, I keep going, right? Spend another 15,000 and do another round of surgery and got 1 egg. Okay. I thought, you know what? Let's keep going. Maybe the third round will have better luck.
Hmm.
And the third round, spend another 15 grand, get 0. So after spending 45,000, I only retrieved 4 eggs. That was the first moment that I realized the importance of financial resources.
Hmm.
I was grateful that at least I got some financial saving to be able to afford that. How many girls and women would not have that,
Gosh.
right? And as I thought about it, that's only the first step. That's really the first step. When I have the right person coming to my life, assuming that we want to, create a family and have our own kid,
Hmm.
then it's going through IVF. Who knows
Yeah.
how many rounds of IVF? And maybe I use up my own eggs and we may need egg donor and then IVF.
Hmm.
And maybe by the time my uterus may not be healthy enough to carry the baby, we may need surrogate.
Hmm.
Or maybe eventually we may need to do adoption. Whichever it is hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who would have thought, at least I didn't, to associate creating family and financial resource together? And we're
Yeah.
only talking about creating a baby. We are not even talking about raising a baby,
Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah.
So that got me to finally start be interested in making money because I was always an achiever, but I never cared that much about money. As long as I am compensated fair. By the way, I don't come from money, even though yes, I went to Dartmouth, but I actually got financial aid. So it's not that I come from money. It's just I'm more like a comfortable family that not worry about too much, but not like rich or anything.
Yeah.
And then a couple months later, I started, online dating, and then I thought I was falling in love. And I guess I was at the time really longing for love. And then that person occasionally showed me that he is making a lot of good money from crypto. At the time, I knew nothing about crypto. I said, teach me. So he taught me, okay, which app, which platform, sign up here, screenshot, follow this. And then I follow, right? And I thought, you know what? If I lost a couple $100, not a big deal. Just pay for lesson, right? But for whatever reason, he's so good that, whatever he taught me to do, the account balance just keep growing. And then after some point, I already felt a little uncomfortable because he keep asking me to put more money and said it's good timing, right? After some point, I would feel uncomfortable, but he kind of manipulated me and said that, like, why would I think that he's doing me any harm when in fact he's giving me money and he's giving me advice and things like that. So eventually, long story short, I lost 125,000.
Oh my God.
And that's including 25,000 personal debt, high interest. I couldn't tell anybody at the time and just like really work myself, to save every penny to pay off that debt as soon as possible. And the reason, and I get why there are so many victims that would not feel, comfortable because they feel so ashamed
Mhm.
to talk about it. That time I was already very stressed. And the last thing that I want is imagining the conversation where people will especially people who love me, right? Family and friends said, "Oh my god, how would that happen? You never met him. How would that?" Like kind of re-emphasizing the stupid mistakes that I already made, that as if I didn't know, right? So I don't want to hear those conversations.
Mhm.
And eventually, a couple months later, I finally talked and shared with my mom. But that is not because I'm so close to her and just want to confess to her. That was because my mom at the time, after spending almost 2 decades with my dad in the same apartment, and now that my dad was gone, she was thinking about buying a new apartment and sell the old one, except she wanted a nicer one. So she was hoping that I could help her, support her financially for funding the gap. As her only daughter, of course, I would love to, except I can't, right? So I have to tell her what happened.
Mhm.
She and I cried, and at that moment, I make up my mind and said, "You know what? I think that's one of the things that I learned and kept me going is the power of reframing. So instead of seeing myself as such a victim, right, and complain about why the universe had me suffer, right? Why I have to deal with all of it. Instead, I said, you know what? This is the equivalent of 2-year MBA tuition, right? Instead of I pay business school, I pay it to life. I'm gonna make the money back.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, on that one, the naive me to think about how I'm gonna make the money back was not the most wise decision. So how I thought about making the money back is I kept working even harder. I was already work way harder. I have a reputation that people call me like a working machine at a company. And
Uh-huh.
so I already work really hard. So there's not much room for me to work harder. But one thing that I did learn is, I never really negotiate my compensation because I was pushing for promotion.
Mhm.
And for those of you that never, haven't worked much in the corporate, right? The more promotions you got in the same company, the farther away your current compensation is from the market value. That's just the
Oh,
reality. Yeah,
interesting.
that's the reality. That's why people every 2-3 years, if you jump, you would get much higher rate. Um, I was definitely at the expense of my own loyalty. I
Mhm.
did eventually get what I want and bump my total compensation from roughly from 200K to 300K. But there's a big but. I was really burning out, and it's I was leading the biggest product launch for the company, and I was so stressed that you can imagine, like, I was crying every couple of days. My menstrual cycle was all over the place. It was like I couldn't stop bleeding for the entire month. And then even after the launch, I started having autoimmune condition. I was always okay with gluten and maybe dairy is a little bit intolerant, but not too bad.
Mhm.
After that, I just suddenly have all sorts of gut issues. And as I was so stressed out, I got a call from my mom from China, and she said she got pancreatic cancer.
Ah,
And that was in March or April. I was like really in the midst of the product launch preparation. There was no way that I could see I could just stop everything and fly to China.
mhm,
And because the team was depending on me, and back then the COVID policy was very strict. It was really hard. It's almost like a gambling to be able to get a seat to be able to get into China.
mhm,
And the third reason, if I'm being extremely honest, I was scared. I was scared. What if I go back right away and seeing my mother really sick in hospital, that there's nothing I can do? And what if that I would got back to the state of being hopeless and fall back to depression, which I am really scared about. And I know that my body is more prone to depression. Eventually, after a couple months, I did fly back to China, and it was after all of that that I realized there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way where I don't have to trade time for money. There's
mhm,
got to be a better way where I could fly to wherever, whenever to see whoever, that not worry about whether it's busy season at work, whether I can ask time off, and I would never want a time in future where money becomes a concern when treating cancer, when creating a baby, right, and raising a family. So that's eventually after all of those that I finally started looking into real estate, and pull the trigger. One thing that I'm super proud of is I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, one of the most expensive area, and I used to think I make decent money, right? But I felt like back then, I felt like if you're not married with another person working tech, you can't afford a house here.
mhm.
And so 14 months after I lost everything, right? That I was, lost all my money because of a scam. I was able to buy my first house, the primary residence in the Bay Area. Of course,
Oh my gosh.
that was quite creative. Not creative finance, but it was creative. I pull
Mhm,
money from my 401k. I put 5% down. I use house hacking. I run the numbers, and instead of a long-term tenant, I use MTR by the room. So that's how I can actually afford a house in the Bay Area. And that got me to think, oh, you can, like before when I was listening to Bigger Pocket podcast, I would never figure out how do people who I know, like I was already like a high income earner, right?
mhm.
But I just thought I don't understand how others able to keep buying rental. I, you know, but then as I, really delve into this world and connect with people, and oh, there are so many ways that you can do it, and then got exposure to learn creative finance thanks to Sub2, and then also got to learn what it takes to raise private money using OPM and different strategy. So and then after that I also got exposed to learn you can not only buy real estate, you can also buy business,
Yeah.
right? And that really opens up so many possibility. And as I'm still in this journey, there are a few business that I'm in the process of acquiring, and also with the option of the real estate associated with it. I felt so grateful. I felt so grateful that, you know, um, while I can complain about all the things happen, like I can, I'm still in my early 30s, that I experienced a lot more than what a normal person at my age should have experienced.
Mhm.
I have every right to complain life is so unfair. But in retrospect, I think I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed that if it's, you know, I think the universe had me overcome them because it know I can. And as I get so blessed that I got to overcome them with, what I've learned and people that I met, I think it's my responsibility to help spread, what I've learned because not everyone is that fortunate, right? And there are people who are suffering. There are people that, finance is an issue. Maybe some also got a similar experience, whether it's a health issue, whether it's being scammed. There are a lot more people being scammed and just don't talk about it.
Mhm.
And even a couple like 2 months ago, I complete my corporate career, but it's 1 year before what I intend to. So I was actually one of those 100,000 people who got
Mhm.
tech layoff, right?
Wow.
And instead of thinking, "Oh my god, like, how am I gonna, afford this and that?" and getting panic and, stress out, and I know there many people are currently, I was very blessed because, before that, I already have a really strong network in the community, in the investor community. I know there's so much abundance of opportunity. And then, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, after joining Sub 2, I got a Sub 2 investment property in Florida that value over 600,000, $0 out of my own pocket,
Oh my
right?
God.
Subject to take over the mortgage and raising private money to fund the entry cost. And then I operate as a STR MTR hybrid. So so even though yes, I got impacted from the tech layoff,
Mhm.
but two of my property that is relatively break even.
Mhm.
For my primary residence, I still need to pay roughly, let's call it $800 rent ish. But before I was renting apartment in the South Bay that would cost me 2,500,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
right? For one bedroom apartment. I own this house for 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom in the Bay Area, right? And then the Florida one is kind of break even, so that's nice. So I don't have as much pressure about the mortgage, which is very lucky compared to many, many people.
Yeah.
And I consider myself so blessed that I really felt it's my responsibility to help empower others. And whenever you see, if you look at my LinkedIn, I said, I'm passionate about empowering women, minorities, and young professional because if there's one person that I want to make the most difference, that I want to help the most, is my 30-year-old younger self
Mhm.
because her whole world changed that she have no idea all the challenges that she's gonna face.
Yeah.
And not every one of them, like me, that have the fortune to overcome, right? Whether it's with the mental resilience, whether it's with the meet the right people at the right time and got exposed to certain knowledge at the right time,
Mhm.
right? And so since then, I created a community called Asian Creative Investors Network. So we've grown really fast, over 420 people within a month. And then I also co-lead a community called Trailblazer Women in Real Estate Investing. So it really aligns with my mission that I want to empower different groups of people. So that's a quite a long story to share who I am. But yeah, that's what I'm up to right now.
Oh my God. That is so much. And that's so much more than you even told me. And we were talking for a while the other day. Oh my goodness, Irene. I am beyond impressed by you. I think anybody would be that's talking to you for exactly what you're saying, your resilience. And I love, like, oh my God, right as soon as you're saying, the universe gave you, all these things and it gave it to you because it knew you can handle it. And now, you've come the other way. And because of all the experiences that you've gone through, you started these different things, like the trailblazers and everything that you just said for other people to help them. And that's just wow. Wow. I don't know if I would be that strong. I doubt it, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you. In fact, the one thing that I want people to think about, right, another empowering conversation and analogy, when you think about, let's say, two people, A and B. Many people aspire to be A, like
Mhm.
A coming from a family not even rich family, just a normal family, right? Not much pressure. And then growing up, there's, smooth, right? Go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, and nothing like major adversity, just relatively smooth, like comfortable the whole
Exactly.
life, right? And B, for whatever reason, he has to overcome so much adversity. There's just so much challenge, one after another, one after another. And with that, he got to grow and learn lessons and become stronger.
Hmm.
And in fact, that after experience all of it, he felt you know have a story to share and empower others.
Yeah.
As you imagine going to their funeral, let's say after 80 years, okay, and listen what other people say
Hmm.
about them. Now, the question is, who do you think is luckier and more blessed?
Wow.
It's debatable. Like for most of us, as human beings, we long for comfort. We avoid pain. Nobody would ever seek for adversity. We
Oh
want
no.
to be A. But if it's not, and if it's not because life happens, right? That B have to overcome so much adversity, then he would not get to have the ability to inspire and empower others with his story. So
Wow.
in that regard, I think B is luckier and more blessed.
Yeah. I mean, that's I think, if I think of, people that are well known and well known for generosity, um, or at least for, they have charities and such, they usually have a bit of a tragic story, which
Yeah.
is kind of sad. But I mean, yeah, it's exactly what you're saying. I feel fortunate and blessed that I would say I'm more of the type A,
Mhm.
thank goodness. But I know that my mom, I would say that she's more of the type B, and I think that because of how she was raised and all the experiences, and even getting pregnant with me at 21 when it wasn't a good time, my parents weren't a good match for each other. Like it was just all not as it had been planned.
Mhm.
Um, but I know that because of all of that, that's why she started her whole nonprofit. That's why she does whatever she does. With the nonprofit, it's a lot of it is very like, recycle everything. So if you have clothes or if you have toys or anything, before throwing it away, give it to us or give it to Goodwill or something and make it have a second life. And she's really passionate about that because she didn't have anything really growing up. I know that my grandparents, they wouldn't really buy them presents or anything. So if she ever got anything, it meant a lot to her.
Mm.
And so that's a big thing. And then she also, like, now what we say with the organization, um, she was talking to me about it a couple years ago, and she was saying, I wish that I had this when I was, 21 or when I was a teen. And
Mm.
that's why, I'm making it so that for the kids that I can relate to that are lost, or that, you know, they are someone that they don't really put the thought into who they are. They grew up maybe as like a good student, or like every so often some people would say, hey, I see a lot of potential in you, I see a lot of potential. But then they just kind of grow up with the wrong crowd, and they get caught up. Like, my mom, I think she had a boyfriend that was a tagger, so he would just
Mm.
tag places, and it's like, well, that's not cool. As we have a business that gets tagged, we're like, okay, that's really, really lame. But because she was a teen, and she wasn't around the right people, she was around taggers, and so she thought like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And um and she's like, even the smallest things like that,
Mm.
she wants to make the difference in their life, so
Yeah.
that they don't even go down that path. Because like once you get older, you're like, tagging isn't cool. Tagging's like, that's somebody else's property, and then now they have to paint. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing that, how your mom choose to give back to the community, and that things that she wish she have, that she now decide to really create that for other people.
Hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah, no, you're incredible. Like, I'm glad for my mom that she did have a difficult childhood or a difficult upbringing, I would say. But I think all in all, she even feels like she didn't have it that bad, which I'm appreciative of. But
Mhm.
oh my God, like what would you? So how did you find the strength to keep going through all the different phases in in your life?
How do I find strengths? I think the hardest one was when I felt that I wasn't like myself.
Mm,
I think the hardest one was when I was dealing with depression because I always know, by the way, my cat just keep like wanting to jump to the screen. So
yes, introduce him.
hi.
Hello,
Hi. Her name is Kiki.
Kiki.
So okay, where Kiki? Don't distract me. Um So, where did I find strengths? So the
Mhm.
hardest one is when I was dealing with depression because at that time I felt like I don't even get to control my energy level, right? So I think the thing that I'm most grateful for was at least I didn't have suicidal thought
Oh yeah.
too. And as long as you are still alive, you get to be able to choose
Hmm.
that you have the opportunity to make changes. Um, for other difficult times, um, like when I was dealing with my fertility challenge, when I was dealing with, losing all the money, I guess I'm natural problem solver. So instead of allow myself to drown into sadness and down, I was just, figure out. Everything is figurable. Just figure out. Um, and and so that's what I did. Um, in terms of technique for resilience, the biggest thing is reframing, right? So the two example, one of them already mentioned. When I was scammed and lost all my money, I tell myself, see as my way to pay tuition to life as a school
Yeah,
that I'm gonna make the money back. And when you think it that way, you don't put yourself as a victim,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And then when I got impacted from the company, right? Instead of God, how did they do that to me? This is so unfair. I have every right, people can, have fair to say that. But instead and in fact, the first 10 minutes when I hear that from a manager, it was totally out of nowhere. Just suddenly the manager said, "Oh, today is your last day." And, the first 10 minutes, I was like, "Oh, okay." Now I know my worth. I know I'm freaking good at what I do.
Yeah.
So I would never worry about finding a job. It's just a matter of time and also a matter of which opportunity that I would want to.
Hmm.
So first 10 minutes, automatically, I just text a couple people that, hey, if you know any opportunity, let me know. Right. And then after 10 minutes, I was like, what am I doing? No, no. This is what the universe is helping me, right? About a month ago, after I attended several conference, like Bigger Pocket Conference, RPM, and Creative Con, I was so
Hmm.
inspired. And on a plane, I told myself, you know what? I want to give myself a year time. By the end of next year, I want to retire myself from corporate life. I'm not kidding. I even told some of my close friends, because I was thinking that give myself 1 year to create different streams of income so I feel more comfortable to submit my 2-week notice.
Yep.
Now, looking back, the reality is it's really hard when you have a W-2 job
Hmm.
because, not just the time, right? But then you can't really go to conferences whenever you want, and meet people when during the work hours that you're supposed to work.
Definitely.
Right, and then it's also just overall energy, it's inauthentic. If my heart was no longer there and just for the paycheck, then I would not bring out my best, my energy would feel so, suppressed. So, about a month or 2 months later that I got this, final day sudden notice that I really felt it was the universe, help me take off my golden handcuff
Hmm.
so that I get to play full out. If
Wow.
it's not because of that, I would not be able to really go after what I want. And this year is a miracle year. Even just by now, just the beginning of this year, this month or so, I've received so many opportunity. There are so many amazing people that come to my life and so many even really successful people that I have no idea. Why would they come to my life? Why would they want to partner with me?
Hmm.
And then when they said that, why not?
Hmm.
And I still like, processing my mind about, wow, but you know what? I have faith that this is what the universe, want to happen and bring. And then it's also, um, I really believe that it is for me to be able to share my stories, right? Make progress and be able to inspire others
Yeah.
and bring others the possibility of hope, the possibility of inspiration, and the possibility of empowerment. I
Hmm.
strongly believe that one of the best ways to empower people is empower them, inspire them with real life stories, and
Hmm.
then equip them with meaningful connections, education, and investment opportunities.
Yep. Absolutely. Wow. Wow. So are you, how, with what you just said, what are you doing to be able to equip people with all of the?
Yeah, so that's why I have those communities, right? The Trailblazers and the Asian Creative Investors Network, right? Start bringing people together, and then they can get to connect with each other. So that's where the meaningful connections start. And then education, bringing people that as good speakers. I think I'm fortunate that I get to connect with a lot of amazing people that are very successful and experienced
Mhm.
and very graceful that they're willing to share their wisdom to the people in the community. And I do intend to create a YouTube channel to start sharing what I've learned and invite others to come, just like what you're doing, right? To share with your the audience in your channel. And
Mhm.
then last but not least is when it comes to investment opportunities that share as I one of the avatar that I am picking and focus on this year is a capital raiser
Mhm.
that share with people, right, the different investment opportunity. And then whether it's my deal or not, that doesn't matter. If I really believe that there's a good deal, right, that with good person operating, I'm more than happy to share with people because I think people deserve that. I would never want to come to a point where later down the road, as people in my network say, Irene, why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah.
Right. So it's a form of sharing. Um, and also another thing that I realize is I used to think real estate investing. There are different ways of other than stocks, right? Stocks and bonds that are more conventional. I used to think real estate investing, I used to think private equity,
Mhm.
venture capital. Those are really far reaching, especially on the PE and VC side. That usually I would have thought people that are already millionaire
Yeah.
to be able to invest.
Yep.
And as I dabble into those world to connect with people in those community, I realize that that's not true. It's
Hmm.
just like real estate. If you're being creative and meet the right people, it's who, not how. You
Yep.
can get access to those investment opportunity at a way, way affordable price. So those are the things that I am doing and hope to make a difference for people.
That's amazing. And so what are you saying that you can do the same thing in real estate, like creative finance, seller financing in, buying businesses and such?
So let's break it down, right? So, for the VC side, um, so VC for many VC, they usually have a fund, and if you are accredited investors, usually I thought those investments are, you have to at least have 50K, 100K at least, right?
Hmm.
And similar, you see that in multifamily. But then, in fact, because there are people that really want to make a difference and make it more accessible to people, so there are a lot more fund managers that make it kind of lower the minimum amount.
Yeah.
So I am ambassador for the organized nonprofit called How Women Invest. So
Mhm.
they actually it's a women-led organization that set up the fund and also partner with other VC fund where it's focused on empowering women.
Mhm.
And their new campaign called the New Table campaign, because actually for VC, it's even way less women.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so their minimum investment is 25,000. And I thought, well, 25 can still be a lot for someone to just write a 25,000 check.
Yeah.
No, they actually, lowered it to, it's 25,000 over 4 years. So each
Oh,
year they do a capital call that, roughly less than 7,000, right? So they
wow.
really trying to engage and empower more women to be able to participate in this kind of investment. And where the funding is going to go is to support women found startup and business,
Mm,
right? And on that, and then of course it's VC fund, so you get those paid payback and good return after they exit in a couple years. So that's one way that you realize, oh, there are certain VC fund that are not as far reaching as I used to think.
yeah.
And then on the PE side, I used to think PE is for those really PE firm that have lots of capital.
Yeah.
Well, that's true in some sense, but as I dabble into the world of buying business, people, that raise funding, when you raise funding, you either or both end, you raise capital through debt and
Mhm.
or equity,
Mhm.
right? And so sometimes people would want to need to raise capital through equity. So you can actually be a fractional owner of that, right? By providing the capital. And then depending on how you want to diversify your capital, that you can just maybe like a 25,000, 20,000 to own like a 10% of a business, or you put it and then so one of the business that I'm in the process of joining as managing partner, that is I'm going to own, like, let's say, fingers crossed, right? They are seeking for 10%, and the 10% for 500K, 450K.
Mhm.
And so what I need is I put 25 to 50,000 down and then
Mhm.
raise SBA loan, right? And that way, the business is worth, how much is it? Like total over 4 million business, right? That's why the 10% is worth 450K.
Yeah.
Then that way, is it like a private equity investment? Yes, it is,
Mhm.
right? So it's not like you need to have, a couple million to be able to participate
Mhm.
in that game.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, Irene. That's so much that's for me, thank gosh. I'm a little bit more well versed in what you're talking about, so I definitely understand it.
Mhm,
Um, I'm assuming that you kind of go over this, and you're going to go over it on your own channel. So, you know, let's say for everybody that
mhm.
wants to get in contact with you or wants to join whatever you're doing, where can they find you? Where can they find these?
Yeah, so right now I'm in the process of creating my website and YouTube channel, but I'm active on my Instagram. So follow me on Instagram at Irene Zhang 531. And why 531? That's my birthday.
Oh my gosh.
So yes, that's how you can connect with me.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you. I super appreciate you coming on. This is insane. I was definitely not expecting your all the experiences that you went through, and thank you for telling us, and thank you for like really even going into how you found the strength to go move on forward between all of those. I think I know that I've known a lot of teens in the last couple of years that have had difficult lives as well, and their family situation is difficult. I know a lot with that live in a single parent household, and they're one or a couple kids that I know. They have a single parent household. Their parent is sick and they can't work, and so it's up to them to find youth employment to be able to provide for their family. And in situations like that, and just situations like yours, I'm amazed that you just kind of always pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going. And I absolutely love your mentality. I'm so glad that, you're one of those people that thought, okay, I'm going through this for a reason and I can go through this. These obstacles that I'm going through, um, I can go through them. And not only that, like the whole, it would be the same as an MBA, but it's just tuition of life. It's fine. It's like the same thing. I would pay a tuition, and that is like that's such an eye opener for me right now. I've never thought about things that way, and I'm
Mhm.
going to. So like from now on, if anybody can get this, like I think that is such a major mindset shift that is just gonna help you in any almost like any situation, if not all. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Irene.
Thank you, Jada.
Yeah, well, all right, I'll let you go. I didn't realize that this was already almost an hour long, but I would love to have you back on, and we could just chat more another time. But yeah, I'm so excited to see everything that you're doing, and I'm definitely gonna look more into your resources because I think that that's amazing. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day, and yeah, I will talk to you soon.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.